So hello everyone, my name is Benjamin. I'm a third year computer science major at Davis, and yeah, I'm excited to present today.
Hi, y'all, and my name is Kevin. I am a third year computer science and economics double major, and I am the director of technology backend for #include. So, me and Ben are both director of tech for Include, and today we'll be presenting this kind of workshop for you. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about Include. So, our mission, we code for social good, and we work in projects. We have different kind of projects every quarter, and we aim to provide web development and mobile app development services for local nonprofit organizations. And we want to really provide opportunities for students to work in these kind of projects and gain coding experience. So, for our actual workshop now, we are doing an HTML CSS workshop, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to actually code your own HTML website. You'll understand kind of how to use the different elements and be able to style it with CSS and just kind of create your own nice little website. Awesome. And so the first thing we want to make sure you guys all have when we do this is a GitHub account. Git is less important, but GitHub and VS Code are two of the most important ones I would say you would need for this. Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone needs this slide, I sent it in the chat. We'll be moving forward, but if you need to download anything, you can access it on the Google Slides.
Awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about HTML now. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, HTML. And basically, it tells the browser how to display the information, display the content that you coded in. And at the bottom, you can kind of see you start the code with the HTML inside those little bracket thingies, and then you end it with a /HTML. And inside you can have head, bodies, and within those you can have different paragraphs, headers, which we'll get into actually in the next few slides. And here, as basically as I just said, so you want to start off your document at the top with the doc type HTML. Basically, um, it basically just says that this is an HTML5 file, I believe. And then within there, you can have your different head and your body. And then within that is where you would put more code. So yeah, within head, this is what we call the meta head. And basically it contains metadata, and you place it between the HTML and the first body or the body tag. And HTML metadata is basically data about the HTML document. It isn't typically displayed, so you won't see it when you pull up a page. And it usually defines the documents like titles, character sets, styles, scripts, and just other kind of information. And then for the body, so this body is what is typically displayed on the actual home page. You can see there when you write at the bottom on line 11 where it says H1, it says welcome to the research lab. So what will happen is then on the actual page, it'll show the header as welcome to the research lab. And then for inside the body, there are also a bunch of other different tags that you can use. You can use the paragraphs, you can use header one, header two, basically main headers or subheaders. You can use different kind of links, bullet points, different kind of items. There's just a lot of different things. And actually, a good website that you can look up more of these is I think it's w3schools.com. I can actually give me a bit and I'll send that link in the chat. But you can learn a lot more about HTML and CSS from those websites and different kind of tags you can use as well. Now, as I was saying earlier, with the H1 and the H2, you can see how the main header, the H1, Welcome to Research Lab, is a lot bigger than the other two. The header 2 and both the header 2s on line 12 and 16. And then you would have bullet point lists which is the LI for author, year published. And yeah, you can just put the information on your webpage with these different kind of tags. And then in addition to tags, you can also have like kind of dividers. So you can see like the div. You can have links within them. It's really helpful for like organization and then being able to like divide up different sections and have your code just a little more clear and be able to section out different areas. Now, with the links too, you can link it to other websites, other pages, like other pages within your website. So it's not just like one. You're not having like one code, like one file for maybe 10 pages. You can have like 10 different files, and they would all just link to each other or whatnot. And so that's the HTML. HTML is what you would normally do with like the actual display and like the content, but CSS is where we want to style things, and this is what like really makes the content look a lot nicer. Um, Typically, you can use this to, well, I mean, here the example is you can choose a different color. So in this case, we chose the H1 color to be red. And if you remember how we had H1 before, it was kind of like the black. This is the research lab kind of line. Now instead, we can have that header become the color red instead. And yeah, you can have CSS in the actual HTML file, which is shown on like the top. That's the inline, and then you can also have it in a CSS file. So you would want to link that in the head. So this is, remember we were talking about like the metadata. You can have that linked to a different CSS file, so style.css, and then you can have all this style in that CSS file instead. And then we have selectors. So basically, selectors are different kind of ways you can use to select the element you want to style, whether it's like color. So in this case, you have color, background, and there you can select to use to change the font weight there to bold. So this is just some different kind of examples how you can use CSS to style and change up how your website text looks. Or you can also do background as well, but it really helps with the style. And then also there's precedence and what takes most importance in CSS files as well. So let's say, for example, you on the right side, you can see that there are three different colors. Well, one of those colors have to be displayed. You can't have three colors being displayed at the same time. And what takes precedence here is the bottommost line. So in this case, it's green because green is at the bottom of those three. You can also override the other rules by just putting the exclamation mark important next to the color that you want. And then you can also have different kind of areas like boxes. And with the boxes here, um, you can have the content in there, which is where you would put like your information. And there's padding around the content, which is just like a little area around the box of the content. And this padding is like transparent. You have the border, which is it goes around the padding and the content, and then you have the margin. Yeah, and then all of that you can just put it in the code, put it in there, and then just state how big you want it to be. Then you can also position your text or images or whatnot in different areas, so it's not just paragraph form or going straight down. You can have like relative positioning, which is relative to like other elements, or you can always have it fixed in one area. Then it won't be affected by the other elements. And yeah, you can kind of see on the code here where the left side, you would have the position as relative for that divider, or on the right side where it's fixed position for that divider. And then you can also format the image in the same way. You can have it either like margins, like how far you want it from like the left or the right, how you want to display it, like what kind of border you want. You can change like the sizing of the image as well. There's a lot of different things you can do with the CSS just to make your website look fancier and cooler. And then you also have Flexbox Grids. So These are just different ways you can create like containers, dividers, and more just like different items, and you can display things in different ways, and it's just additional stuff you can use to make your website a little more organized and nicer looking. And then finally, here's how we would link different fonts to your website. So again, back to the header or the head where we talk about like the metadata and different things like that. You can link it to different kind of fonts and what you would want the font to be. Um, you'd want to follow that like link on the third line to where yeah you actually link it to what the font style is. Um, yeah, or in this actual CSS file, you can select and change like the fonts in there, and that would specify what exactly the font you want it to be. Cool. And now Ben will take us to a quick tutorial of this and show an example.
Before we move forward, does anyone have questions that they want to ask? No? Okay. In the meantime, Kevin will be taking over the chat. So if you have questions while I'm presenting, just ask Kevin. So this is the link to the GitHub repository. So all the code that I will be doing today will be on this GitHub after the workshop. So you can always check it out afterwards. But right now, I'm going to walk through how it's done from start to finish on GitHub Pages. So if you want to follow along, you can, but I recommend just watching. Okay. Give me 1 second while I find my tabs. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Send something in the chat so I can know. Thank you. Okay. So this is your GitHub account. You're going to create a new repository and you're going to call it your username. So in this case, I'm using the include Davis account. So that's my username, .github.io. And then I'm going to click add a README file. This is just so I can initialize the branch and make it easier for me. And then create repository. And because I named it include davis.github.io, GitHub Pages should be initialized already. So by the time I finish putting all the code up, if I go to this link, I'll have everything to display. So let's open this on my computer. So I'm going to open with GitHub Desktop to make things easy. Okay, I think my screen just changed. Okay, can everyone see my desktop?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I'm going to open in Visual Studio Code. That's my main text editor that I like to use. So right here, you see that you have the files that you initialized, the README. I'm going to add an index.html. And then while I'm at it, I'll add a style.css. And I'll show you guys a cool shortcut. So if you put exclamation mark right here, it'll put all that stuff for you. So you don't have to memorize that. I'm going to call this Benjamin's portfolio website. So basically a portfolio website, it can be anything you want. I recommend you just put a little blurb about yourself and then some relevant projects or anything you might want to share. So people, when they look your name up, they'll find all this cool stuff about you. So as mentioned earlier, I'm going to link the style sheet right at the top in the head. So it's going to be called style.css. And then let's make the nav bar first. So I'm going to put a section. Honestly, you can put div or section in this little area. Basically, a section is more compatible across browsers. So I recommend doing that. And then within this navbar, I put a navbar name. So in this part, I put a little emoji. I can also put, let's put something cute. Okay, I put a little person, and then I'm going to have the 3 buttons that will link to each of the pages on my website. So right now there's no styling, so let me just commit and push this up. So to commit, you go to the top left corner. There are these navigation icons. Click on the branch icon. It will show all the changes that you've made so far. Click the check mark and then type your message. This basically commits the current version on your local computer. So I'm going to say added navbar basic. I saved that on my local computer, but I want that to be published on GitHub. So I'm going to click the 3 dots and then push. So in reality, that would work because you should be logged into the same account. Let me just do that really quick. So in settings, I'm going to give myself access. Give me 1 second. This is going to be really quick.
In the meantime, while Ben's sorting this out, does anyone have any questions? You can just drop it in the chat. Ben, there's a question. What was the shortcut you used to add the section code? It was just an exclamation mark, right?
Yeah, all you have to do is click exclamation mark and then enter. It should autofill.
So
I
once
feel
you
like my emails are showing, but I respect you guys, so it's okay.
So I'm not sure about the video later. That might be something Julie can answer. I'm not sure. I'll message her and see what she says. In terms of viewing your site once the code is compiled, so you can either do that. So you can either do that directly through your computer. You can just like double click your HTML file and just open it, and it should just pop up. Or you can use like GitHub Pages or like different hosting services. Heroku is also a way you can view your website as well. Yeah, I think Ben just got it, so I'll let him take it back from there.
So yeah, I just clicked the 3 dots, push, and then voila, you see all your code on GitHub now. So I'm gonna move forward a little faster just because we have 30 minutes left. So if I want to check out my website, I'm simply gonna go to this URL. It might take some time to upload. I recommend you open an incognito tab, and then that will show everything right away. So you see I put home, about me, and resume. Yeah, pretty cool. So for now, I'm not going to put my resume on here, but I linked that to google.com, and that's what the href is for. It basically makes this A stands for like the button. It makes it clickable, and it will redirect to that page. Because I put an about.html page, let's put that here. New file about.html. And then the shortcut is Shift 1 exclamation mark enter. And yeah. So after the navbar, you would want to style it because right now it looks a little funky. Yeah. So let's add some basic styling. So basically, I want to use this font. I set margin auto so everything is aligned properly, and then scroll behavior smooth. All these are not super important, but they're minor things that will improve the usability of your website. And you can look all these up on Google. So in order for me to use this font called Open Sans, I would have to go back to the index. And at the top where the metadata is, I will also link the font. And in order to find these fonts, go to Google Fonts. Or if you have an Adobe account, that'd be even better. You can link Adobe fonts. But you have all these options. And then once you click on that font, you can select the ones that you like. So I think I like this one. And then right here, they give you the code. All you have to do is copy it. And if I want like bold, I can select that one, that one, that one. And all the numbers will show there for the font thickness. And I copy that and I put it into my metadata. Let's add some more CSS. I think we can do some more. So I want my nav bar to be gray. So let's add a background color. And then I want the font size to be not too big, but not too small. So I set it to 20 pixels. And let's see. I also don't want it to be super close to the edge of the screen. So I added some padding, 20 pixels. Let's see if that works. And then I'm going to do display flex, which basically shows that I want the emoji and then I want these buttons to be in the same row. So if I put, this is the structure, it's important to have the structure. This is one box. That's the outside box. And I set display flex and then flex direction row. So everything in this box will be in a row. And then I want this to be its own little box, but I also want it to be to the side. So that's why I put it in another separate box. So I have that.
And there's a question in the chat. Like, why wouldn't you include all fonts? What's the downside? I actually don't know the answer to this one.
Oh, what was the question? All fonts?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just include all the fonts? What's the downside?
Well, it does come with the standard fonts such as sans serif and serif, which look kind of ugly. It's like Times New Roman and Arial. But I think putting all fonts is pretty, you're gonna have to put a bunch of these style sheets, and that's not ideal. So if you know the font that you like ahead of time, just put that at the top. I don't know if that answered the question, but ideally you wouldn't want to put a whole bunch of style sheets at the top.
Nathaniel, let me know if it answers the question. If not, I can search it up a little too.
Okay. So I have the nav bar styling, but I want to style the buttons. The 3 buttons are in its own box. So I have to say display flex for those also. So I'm gonna say display flex, align items center. So if I want these 3 buttons to be all the way on this right side, there's something called space between. So I'll show you the link. Just look up Flexbox. And they have very cool diagrams that show how to make all these things possible. So basically, I am trying to show you space between. So I have 2 things and I want them to be all the way at the edge. That's why I use space between. But if I want the emoji plus the navigation elements to be in the center, I would do center. So yeah, this is a very nice website to visualize everything. So yeah, because I added that, I think that should be it to make my nav bar look good. I'm just gonna add one more thing to make the emoji the perfect size. So after I added all of that, I'm going to commit as usual. Added nav bar styling. It's good to have proper like documentation. So try to make your commit messages connect to what you were doing. I'm gonna push. Okay. Let's refresh and see if anything happens. Okay, let's just to speed it up. Incognito tab. Include davis.github.io. There you go. Does that look nicer? Yeah, this is just one small portion of the website. There's a lot left to go. So I'm going to start putting more code in. So I might have 3 pictures of projects that I want to show. So let's see how we can do that. So I have this nice picture of my project. I'm going to insert it into my code. Yeah, this is my project. It's nice to organize your files on the left side just because you don't want it to be a mess. I'm going to do a folder called assets. That's where all my pictures are going to go. Okay. And then for the HTML, I'm going to do another section for my work. And then within that, I'm going to have 3 boxes. You can call those 3 divs. And those 3 divs are going to contain those 3 images. And that's literally what the code says. You have your bigger box and your 3 smaller boxes. And inside those is the image. So I'm going to go back to my style.css and let's take care of all that. So I called that section work. I gave it the ID. I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you use an ID, it's a hashtag. So I added margin auto. This basically centers it. Centering on a web page is kind of hard just because there's a whole bunch of ways to do it, but I like margin auto. It takes care of everything for you. And then I set the width to be 70 VW. Can anyone guess what VW means? Remember how I used pixels earlier? Why did I use VW now? I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, so basically it means view width. So let's look right here. I want my content to only take up like 2/3 of the screen. I don't want it to stretch from edge to edge. So I set the width to 70 VW, which means like 70% of the screen size. And because I said margin auto, it's going to be in the center. And then I did display flex again, but I didn't do row. I did column because I would want all my projects to go like in a stack. So I can scroll down. And I added some padding just so stuff is not too close together. So now I styled the bigger box. Now I'm going to style the inner boxes for each project. I also set display flex just so I can use justify content. This basically will center all the content inside of this container. And then you see margin auto again, and then some padding. But I didn't touch the image yet, so let's take care of that. And notice that I put a period. That means it's a class, and a class means I can use it for multiple elements because I have repeating boxes. That's why I put class. So the same style will apply to all of these. And then I'm going to add a little hover animation just because that's going to make things look cute. So yeah, this basically means on hover, I'm going to scale the image 1.03, so like 103%. It's going to be really small, but it'll add a nice touch. And that transition is 0.2 seconds long. Okay, let's commit. Sorry, my Siri is acting up. Okay. Added some projects and then push. Okay. I'm still on my incognito tab, so I'll just refresh. It might take a while. Did I add it right? Assets example. Yeah, it's in the right spot. You can always double check in the GitHub repository if everything's updating properly. Yeah, I added my projects. It's not showing. New incognito. Did I miss a semicolon? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. It's okay. I'm gonna add a footer. So it's like a little piece at the bottom. You can either put like your social media links or like a little message. I'm gonna put a cute little message at the bottom. It's gonna say, thank you for visiting my portfolio website, and then code it with love or coffee or whatever you want by my name. And then I'm gonna style that. So I put that in a box also. And I want those two things to be spread out. So if you remember, I'm gonna use space between when I use the Flex container. So let's add that in. Right at the bottom. Okay. That should finish my styling for the index.html page.